Hello and welcome to another edition of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill, and I'll start us off with our sport business moment.
Let's do it.
I've been fascinated with Amazon's moves, hiring a ticketing person, Lee Castrogini, to sell their tickets and figure out, how to be a ticket technology company. And now I'm watching that they're starting selling UFC pay-per-view. And I think to me that's important in that it's content, and Amazon's selling live sports content, not videos, but live sports content. And when you sell live sports content and you're successful with it, it gives you a number of different ways to do it. Now they're going to show it on their Prime Video, but you're not going to have to be a Prime member to buy it, but you're going to have an account, an Amazon account. So you can see the play is to open up, get people to, if they're not already on Amazon, get them on Amazon, and then hopefully move them into a Prime membership at some point in time. But you can see it playing out. And then if this is successful, then they'll start doing other types of sports content. Which is interesting because years ago, I was a huge advocate that, when like HBO and Showtime do these free weekends,
Mm-hmm.
I was always an advocate that HBO should pay big bucks and get one of the bowl games, and you can only watch it on HBO. But you show it you make sure that that's your preview weekend.
Oh.
So all these people are watching the game for free, and your commercials are all the programs that HBO has to offer throughout the whole year. So you're using it almost like a telethon, and you're driving people to watch HBO, to subscribe to HBO while they're watching the free game.
That is interesting.
And you have some kind of special offer for them.
Now back to the UFC thing. Is it free if you're a Prime member, or you can buy it if
No,
you're a Prime member?
You can buy it. It's $64.99.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that was the case. That's what I thought. I just wanted to clarify. Now, as we're on the deal of this live sports stuff, how long does DirecTV have exclusive NFL Sunday ticket sort of situation?
I think for a couple more years.
Oh, okay.
Because see that when you can stream that will blow up.
My dream, and DirecTV still hasn't done it yet, is to just be able to buy an individual team package. Like I want to buy the Steeler package.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Steeler package, I want to see the Mike Tomlin show. I want to have a choice between the local broadcast from Pittsburgh and the national broadcast. And I want the post-game show. I want a fully immersive Pittsburgh Steeler experience like I'm living in Pittsburgh.
Think that's a great idea.
Because that's what I want.
The NBA League Pass lets you subscribe to one team.
Right. Because that's honestly what I want the most. But like I said, I do want the homerism. I want to hear the Pittsburgh guys, and I want that option. I want the Tomlin show. I want the full Pittsburgh post-game show, not just clips on Twitter, not just a highlight on ESPN if something controversial happened, but I want to watch the whole thing because I just want to be immersed in Pittsburgh.
That's why I started turning off the sound and listening to that Pittsburgh radio app I showed you.
Right.
Because you get it and you get it all. You get it all. You get as much of it as you want. And sometimes it's too much Pittsburgh, even me saying that. But I do enjoy it.
Yeah, from time to time, that's what you want to see,
I got another mini sport business moment. I thought it was kind of intriguing that Papa John's wasn't dead in the water 24 hours and they already announced the Pizza Hut deal.
I know.
So I was wondering how they were moving to negotiate and move Papa John out during the season, or shortly thereafter, even though they still had a year left on their deal. And it's kind of interesting how that went. And then they got more money, and they got a partner that's pretty much double the size with double the outlets.
Right.
And when I read about what Pizza Hut wants to do with it, I think it's really intriguing. You know what they want to do?
I do not.
Their goal is to expand their push into beer delivery.
Oh.
So pizza and beer.
That's brilliant if they can pull that off.
It is brilliant if they can pull it off. And then here's a stat to go with that. In the 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl last year, consumers spent $1.3 billion on beer and cider and $200 million on frozen pizza.
Oh.
Seems like a pretty lucrative market to me.
It's a very lucrative market.
Yeah.
And I think the Pizza Hut deal is why when people talk about Roger Goodell, we just don't feel like his job is that difficult. Because everybody and their mother wants to, even despite the concussions, despite the domestic violence, despite protest gate and all this stuff, every company wants to be the official whatever pizza of the NFL.
Yes.
So
let's take this. Let's go. You love love your conspiracy theory. Let's go a step behind the curtain. Who owns a lot of pizza? Papa John's.
Peyton Manning.
No, Jerry Jones.
Oh, Jerry. Oh. I wouldn't realize Jerry.
I'm not saying that was any part of this, but it sure passes the smell test, doesn't it?
It's certain. I mean, the way Goodell is going after Jerry Jones is $2 million right now. Yeah, it doesn't. I mean. Wow. It is indeed. And for the record, both pizzas are garbage, so it doesn't matter which one is their sponsor.
That's right. I'd rather have some good old local pizza.
Exactly. There's got to be someplace near you that's better.
Yeah. I mean, everywhere we've lived, I've found a great local pizza. I've never been a chain guy. I never will be a chain guy.
I've already found 3 or 4 in New Orleans that are excellent. Not New York good, not Pittsburgh good, but really, really good.
Good. That's what counts.
Yeah.
I mean, Grimaldi's is a chain, and I like Grimaldi's.
Right.
I wouldn't go out of my way to get it. I'd rather go to Christina's or somewhere else. But when we lived in Orlando, Pizza Valdiamo was my favorite. It was really good.
Excellent pizza.
But you go to different places, but Grimaldi's is passable.
Yeah.
As a chain.
Exactly. I went to Brooklyn Pizza today for lunch, which is a guy from New York that opened up Brooklyn Pizza in New Orleans, and it's really good New York pizza. Yeah,
I took my grad students to Due Amiche the other day in Ybor, and they loved that pizza.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Reminds me of Antonio's in Amherst.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's talk NFL draft. I'm excited to talk about NFL draft, and I'm over the moon right now on Shaq Griffin for running a 4.38 and also the 20 reps.
20 reps.
Pretty impressive for a guy with one hand.
And did you read his?
Was the Wade total MVP of the bowl game he played in, and he was amazing. And so my tweet today was to the Steelers, let's keep this guy in black and gold. And as you and I were talking off air, I said I would go as high as the number 2 pick on him.
Yeah. And did you read his letter to NFL teams?
Begging for an invite to the combine.
He wrote another one about just the draft. I mean, he's basically saying, look, I'm not asking you to feel sorry for me. He's like, I'm not going to go over my story. You can Google it. But, I live, eat, breathe football. Yeah. And I think, like you said, I mean, every time he's been given a chance to shine, one hand or not, he shines. So.
Yeah. I just think he's amazing. I just would love to see him in black and gold. And I think Steelers fans would go crazy for him.
I mean,
with that kind of speed, that's what was exposed that the Steelers did not have in the linebacker position. So I'm all over it. And I know he's only 220 pounds, but I think this guy, his heart, you can't measure this guy's heart.
No, you cannot.
Yeah, he's a stud. So let's talk about our Cleveland Browns scenario, because you and I have 2 different opinions on the subject.
We do.
All right, so if I have 1 and 4, I'm taking Barkley with the 1 pick.
Okay.
And then I'm seeing, Mel Kiper's the one high on Josh Allen. I'm not hearing anybody else linked to him.
Oh, no. Did you see him at the combine? They said that his footwork and his accuracy has improved an incredible amount since the end of the season. He's showing that with coaching, he's getting the
shit. He still hasn't played against any real talent.
Neither did Ben Roethlisberger, and he's won 2 Super Bowls and been to 3.
Yeah, I agree. But I would take Barkley with 1, and I would take the best remaining quarterback at 4.
And Josh Allen also threw 70 yards in the air like it was nothing.
No question. And I know that he's got big hands, and I think that's a big, important factor in Cleveland. He's got the biggest hands. He's got a strong arm. I'm just saying, I'm not saying I would take Rosen. I'm not saying I would take Sam Darnold. Maybe I'd take Baker Mayfield at 4.
Right. My favorite quarterback in the draft is Lamar Jackson. The guy
Maybe I'd take Lamar Jackson at 4 and Chacon Barkley at 1. I just think that would just show. I don't know. You got to have some weapons, and I know you're the opposite. So what would you do with your 1 and 4?
If I'm going with your scenario, where I'm not taking a quarterback at 1, I'm taking a quarterback at 4. I'm taking Bradley Chubb, and I'm putting him on one side, Myles Garrett on the other side, and I'm causing havoc on defense.
Okay.
If I'm Cleveland, I feel like I've got a good offensive line, and whether I get Geis or one of these other guys from one of the other schools, there's been other guys. Both the kids from Georgia put up impressive combines too. And they were incredible. They played against SEC competition, and they were incredibly, accomplished backs. Le'Veon Bell.
Barkley has to be Le'Veon Bell.
Right.
He can do everything.
Alvin Kamara was a 3rd-round pick last year. Bell was a 2nd-round pick. I just think I feel like running backs have such a short career, which with the Steelers, I'm hoping they just franchise him again this year and then figure it out next year.
And that seems to be really close to popular opinion because next year he turns 27, and that's 27 supposedly the number, the magic year that running backs start to decline.
Especially when you carry the ball as often as Le'Veon Bell carries the ball.
Yeah, it's a good thing if he gets suspended for a few games every year so he doesn't have to play.
That's true. I forgot about that aspect of it.
Suspended or hurt. So he hasn't, he might have saved himself a season.
Yeah. In my dream scenario, the Browns shoot themselves in the foot and draft Sam Darnold number 1 because I think he's going to be a bust. I don't like his interviews. I don't like the fact he threw 20 interceptions. I think he's been hyped as this great quarterback since high school. And he went to USC, and people are just constantly putting him on the top, but I never see it from him on a personal level. So that's who I hope goes to the Browns because in the Steelers division, I don't want them to get better.
Yeah, I'm not far off. I like that scenario too.
And I know they're never going to because he just had the worst combine in NFL history, but then I would somehow love for them to randomly take Orlando Brown at 4.
Okay.
Who cost himself a ton of money, his quote was, "I've always been fat, but..."
I've always been fat is not how you want to describe yourself when somebody's thinking about paying you a lot of money.
I thought it was tremendous. And this is a guy that ran, he played well in college as a tackle, but he ran a 4.85 40, which is the second slowest of all the drafted tackles in the history of the NFL Combine. A 7th-round pick is the only one that ran slower than a 4.84, and he only put up 14 reps at over 350 pounds.
Wow.
And obviously Barkley put up 21, Shaq Griffin put up 20. So
yeah,
those aren't encouraging signs, but I know that'll never happen. I mean, and I do have friends that are Browns fans, so maybe they'll be all right at some point. But I feel like the running back is the thing you get when you're good. Like with Jacksonville last year, it made sense because you had a team. If you had a quarterback, you were a Super Bowl contender, and now you have that extra piece to put you over the top. But I feel like when you're in that bottom line, you want to build everything up, and you can find running back. I think is what I would say. I mean, I realize there are once in a generation talents, and maybe Barkley is that, but you don't want him to waste his once in a generation talent on the 4 years you're rebuilding, getting your quarterback ready.
Good argument.
Yeah,
I'd still take him.
Sure. Now, did you see the 2 big plays this year? We'll go a tiny bit of NBA real quick, just because it was a big week.
Okay.
Did you see the 2 broke the internet plays this week?
The James Harden play?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see James Harden forearm the guy to get him to fall down?
I saw James Harden forearm the guy. That's what I'm trying to point out. Like, people are like, he made this incredible crossover. He leaned in, gave him a forearm shiver.
He gets away with more than any other player in the NBA.
And he gets so many and one calls and like shooting, like as LeBron says, you're getting these shooters all the, it looks like somebody brushes his elbow as he's shooting a 3. He's getting all these calls. Meanwhile, guys are getting knocked to the floor going up for layups, and they're not getting a call.
And watch that shot, because I swear he shuffles his feet before he shoots the ball.
Oh, he travels constantly.
I know, constantly.
He takes it
with more than any other player in the NBA.
Yeah, and he's going to win MVP this year, and I don't know, whatever. But I thought the far crazier play was the LeBron James behind his back, between his teammates' legs, split the defenders.
Yeah, that was good.
Like that was I don't know if that was luck. I mean, with LeBron James, it's hard to imagine anything as luck. Like that play was the one that should have had people going nuts over. Like no one seems to acknowledge the forearm that pushed the guy to the ground.
I think what they see is how long it was before he shot.
Yeah.
And then they said he was staring him down.
And he licked his lips.
Definitely. You know what play it reminded me of? Remember MJ taking that shot against Utah?
Yeah.
And he pushes the guy and clears the space and goes up and hits a jump shot.
Yeah. And it's not to say it wasn't a veteran play or whatever. I thought it got a little bit overhyped.
Oh, sure. It's a veteran play. You can always call it a veteran play.
Yeah.
But it's a veteran play primarily because you know you're going to get away with the call.
True. But in the hyperbole world we live in today, like, I think broke the internet is now my new least favorite phrase. Just throwing that out there.
Because they said Shaquille Griffith broke the internet twice on the 2 things he did.
I think the Kardashians break the internet once a day somehow. according to
Yeah.
different social media. So yeah, and yet I'm still online. So who knows?
Hey, I get a shout out to my Oklahoma State Cowboy basketball team. First team to sweep Kansas in the Bill Self era.
Very nice.
So they've beaten Kansas twice. They've beaten Oklahoma when Oklahoma was a top 10 team. They beat Texas Tech when it was a top 10 team. They beat West Virginia when West Virginia was a top 10 team. And they're not talking about getting them in the tournament. Those are quality wins.
Those are.
They probably have some bad losses to go with it, but those are quality wins. I'd rather see a team like that that beat those good teams, because the team they play Oklahoma now in the first round, and the winner plays Kansas, and then there's no way they're going to beat Kansas 3 times. But
No.
if they do, then they'd have to get them in the tournament.
While we're in
Just
the
like Penn State beat Ohio State 3 times.
exactly. While we're in the Big 12 and we're talking Oklahoma basketball, what do you make of what's happened to Young at this point?
I don't know. I'm wondering if he's worn out. You know, the grind of it being that physical, and teams really bodying up on him. I mean, beginning of the year, you knew he was going to be good. You know how good he's going to be. Then he got ridiculously good, and then people started shutting him down.
Yeah.
But he's also been missing a lot of shots, and open shots.
Right.
That's what leads me to believe that maybe he's a little tired.
Okay. Because he went from being the next Steph Curry possible first overall pick to, you know, whatever this is.
And maybe he should stay in school another year.
This psychological breakdown.
Yeah.
I think he's still a lottery pick, regardless. So.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, something's up. I mean, but the whole team is falling off too, Jason. I mean, it was a top 5 team, and they're not even ranked anymore.
I know.
And they're the 9. Oklahoma State's the 8th seed, and they're the 9th seed.
It's crazy.
I know. One other selfish Oklahoma State question: how's Mason Rudolph done in the combine?
He's done okay. You know who he's meeting with? This will be out there for no one to care. Pittsburgh Steelers.
I love that. I love that. Get rid of Laundry Jones and get Mason Rudolph. I would love that.
I mean, on the due diligence thing, last year, I think as people listen to the podcast, Josh Dobbs was my combine darling. I like the fact that he was a genius and a rocket scientist and all that stuff. But
Yep.
clearly, I guess you got to look at quarterbacks every year. But it does make me worry that maybe he's not doing as well as I had hoped he had been doing as far as his development over the course of a year.
Maybe so. Because
If you're already looking at a guy because Rudolph's a second
I would love
round
to see
pick.
that happen. Because you have a couple of years with Ben to get ready, and you know he can throw the ball.
Exactly.
But you knew that Laundry Jones could throw the ball too.
Laundry Jones, yeah.
So we'll see. So it's Oscar Day, and I know this is your forte. So give me some Oscar information and some Oscar picks.
All right, I figured I would just sort of, not that anyone probably wants to hear, but I'm just going to go through each of the Oscar nominees for Best Picture and sort of give my general thoughts.
Okay.
Call Me By Your Name. If it was set anywhere other than Italy, which is just an absolute gorgeous backdrop for anything, I don't think it would be up for Best Picture. It's certainly a fine film, but I think when you have bike rides with Italy in the background, I think it just brings it to another level. But I don't think it's an Oscar-winning film. Next, we have
What's the premise of that film?
It's an older student, like a grad student / maybe adjunct professor, comes and lives with a high school student, and there's a weird friendship, maybe more, that sort of develops.
Okay.
I mean, that's probably a too simplification of the story, but Darkest Hour, I think Gary Oldman is always fantastic. And maybe this is when he wins an acting award for, but the film just, I found it boring myself. I didn't learn anything new about Winston Churchill. Let me know when you've seen any of these too, so we can get into the discussion. Did you see Dunkirk? I think,
I saw Dunkirk.
I thought it was a technical, it was beautifully shot, but I didn't feel like it didn't reek of Best Picture to me.
No, it lacks flow.
Right.
It seems like 4 little vignettes, but there's nothing that really, it doesn't tie together well.
No.
It's too isolated. So yeah, I was all gung-ho to see it, and I saw it in 4K, and I was all fired up to see it, and yeah, it was, but it's no, if Private Ryan is a standard for award-winning Best Picture, then this is nowhere near it.
No, and technically, the film had everything you'd want to see. It looked beautifully, it was incredibly shot, but like you said, it didn't feel like it tied together. Lady Bird. Did you see Lady Bird?
I did not see Lady Bird.
I loved Lady Bird.
And actually, I have to confess something to you. When I heard the name Lady Bird, I thought it was about Lady Bird Johnson. And I found out I was wrong.
I did love Lady Bird. It's a beautiful story. And I think, and I'm not a mother or a daughter. And
Obviously.
It's a very special mother-daughter relationship sort of movie. But
Okay.
even without that extra baggage, like it still got me to tear up a couple of times. But I would say as good as Lady Bird was, I don't feel it doesn't have the gravity of what a best picture should be. It's an excellent film and people should definitely watch it.
Okay.
But I don't think it's a best picture. The next film I did not see, I desperately want to see, but it never really came around here, and that's Phantom Thread.
Yeah, I've not seen that yet either, and it hasn't been really. It's really been in a lot of places.
No. Paul Thomas Anderson is a brilliant director, and I obviously have Daniel Day-Lewis. It looks phenomenal. I'm sure it's going to be great, but I can't give any sort of critique on that one.
Okay.
We both saw The Post.
Yep.
And I just, 30 years ago, they made All the President's Men about the exact same subject, and 20 times better movie. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Well, not the exact same thing. One was after the other one.
Right.
The end of The Post is where the other one starts. And but the other one was far superior. Far superior. I mean, had you on the edge of your seat, and there was a lot of drama and a lot of intrigue. And this just kind of wasn't that.
Not to me.
No, not to me either. I mean, Tom Hanks is a great actor. Meryl Streep's a great actress.
Spielberg is a great director. Yeah.
There was nothing, over the top that tells me, wow. I didn't say wow when I left.
No. I did say wow a couple times there in the next one, which is I think the consensus leader of the Best Picture category, but I would not give it my Best Picture nominee, and that's The Shape of Water. I love Guillermo del Toro. I think he's just an incredible visionary. I think if he was ever going to win for one of his films, it should have been Pan's Labyrinth or The Devil's Backbone or one of his other films. I thought this one was a little bit weak overall. Did you see? You guys, you've not seen The Shape of Water, right?
No, you told me I wouldn't like it, so I didn't go.
I don't think you would.
Okay, then I'm not going to go.
I think at the heart of it, I
trust your judgment for me.
I guess I would say in a lot of ways, like it's an allegory, it's a metaphor for for love and outsiderism, and maybe even immigration. There's got a lot of different, but it never really takes either any of those concepts to its foregone, to the point where it really says anything about it. And it has some very huge contrivances in the script that, again, I just couldn't forgive myself. I'm a little harsh as a critic of writing, and I thought this was not the best written script.
Okay.
And again, that's my bias going into a Best Picture. Like visually, it is absolutely stunning. It's a beautiful film, and it's very well acted. But I thought there was a lot of things that just didn't quite hold together. And I know people are like, well, it's a fairy tale, and it's fine if it's a fairy tale, but I still think you need to have some consistency of the rules.
Agree.
3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri.
Yes.
It was my most anticipated film, based on the trailer that came out. It's gotten a ton of backlash.
Yeah. Well, it's a little controversial because it's a little,
A lot of people feel
a
that
lot of favorable publicity too.
it's got a lot of favorable. I know a lot of people sort of feel like it seems like something that somebody who does. Again, it's an Irish writer, and it seems like someone who doesn't live in America would write about America. Like that they would see sort of the issues, but not quite understand all the nuance of it.
Okay.
I think people's main beef, and turn this podcast off for the next 20 seconds. This will be a slight spoiler. Is Sam Rockwell's almost redemption at the end of the movie, where it seems like he kind of changes that people didn't seem to respond to that. It seemed to be the main gist of it, the backlash. Spoiler over. And the final film is my pick for Best Picture, and that is Jordan Peele's Get Out.
No question.
I think of all these.
I would vote for that one as well.
I think 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when you're looking back at movies that came out this year, I think that's the one you're going to remember. I think that's the one you're going to want to rewatch.
And I think what hurt it is it came out so long ago.
It came out this time last year.
Yeah.
Or February. It came out in February of last, so even before this time last year.
So we saw it a year ago.
A year ago, right. I just think in every aspect of filmmaking, from writing, acting, directing, cinematography, like this is by far the best film out there. The hope from critics is basically that because there really isn't a consensus number one right now, that the people's number two film might be the one that sort of ends up getting the most votes. And almost everybody has Get Out in their top three.
Oh, you have to.
So that even, like I said, I think it's far and away the best picture, but even if, The Shape of Water people, if Get Out is the number two, and the Three Billboards people have, Get Out is number two, that maybe through cancels it, maybe he'll win that way. But like I said, I think it's, it's just a beautiful, amazing film.
It's the most intriguing of all the Oscar races.
Yeah.
Because it is so debated and so, I couldn't pick a winner right now. But I do like Get Out. Get Out was absolutely my favorite. Just so well handled. You took some interesting subject matter and really made it poignant, made it powerful. The acting was great. The ending was great. It was a great movie.
Now, I do get to vote in all the acting categories because I'm a member of SAG, so I won't be, giving any of my picks here. But I just sort of feel like with acting, like all these categories are extremely subjective, but I think acting more so, because even if you don't love the film, the acting could have been superb.
Yeah, no question.
I thought all the performances, and I know this is a generic sort of answer, but I thought all the performances were fantastic. There wasn't a single one that I thought was head and shoulders above the rest. Obviously, with the caveat being I didn't vote in the one category because I didn't get to see Daniel Day-Lewis yet. Or he actually wasn't up for Best Actor. I can't even believe that. That's right, he wasn't.
Which is hard to believe because I've never seen anybody that into a role.
No, and I know that almost has the opposite of Get Out. It came out so late in the process and was in such limited availability that I don't know how many people really got. It didn't ever got a chance to build up any sort of buzz. So if anyone cares, those are my Oscar thoughts. And we agree that we once again we agree on things. We have the same Best Picture.
Yeah, but to me, that would just set the tone for what I would consider Best Picture I've been to. When I left, I was shaking my head thinking about it. I thought about it for the next day and a day after that. It was just one of those kind of pictures. And that to me is what a Best Picture should do. It should penetrate the way you think and the way you feel about things. It should give you something more to think about.
Definitely. And it's the one film, like the second it was available on iTunes, I bought it because I wanted to watch it again. And it held up. Yeah. And the one thing he does in this film that I think, I know in my film I failed at as a director is you watch other techniques and other films in the genres that you love. And sometimes you want to sort of, I guess, homage on some level and also sort of use the techniques. And you see a lot of films these days that'll have similar scenes from other movies, but they don't seem to understand the psychology behind why it's shot that way, why the actor is placed in this particular form or lit a certain way.
Right.
And even before hearing Jordan Peele speak on this, and he definitely understands all of that, you could just tell. Like, there's some shots that are extremely similar to some Polanski, like Rosemary's Baby kind of things.
Yeah.
And they were set up a very specific way to make you feel and react to what was being shown on the screen. And Jordan Peele was able to do, like I said, that I just thought the film was incredible. So I probably won't go on any more about it, but it was really, really good. I don't know what else to say. If you haven't seen it, please go see that one.
I want to apologize for call waiting. Your mother's calling me.
Okay. And also Lady Bird. Like I said, I do think Lady Bird is a movie everyone should see because I think they'll enjoy it. Just not Best Picture for me. And I think that's about going to do it for the day. But speaking of... What's that?
I don't have any food. I don't have any food.
No.
Do you have any food?
Sadly, no. But we do have one of our first Patreon sponsor. It is their birthday today. So we should give a special shout out to Sharon Sutton, my mom, and your wife.
Yes.
As it is her birthday today.
If she wasn't our first subscriber, she was one of our first.
One of our first, yes. And speaking of Patreon, we are constantly hoping to upgrade the show as much as possible. And, you know, in order to do that, we do need Patreon support. If you guys can give it, we'd really appreciate it. And even if not, please go on iTunes and subscribe. And, you know, if you know anyone that would like podcasts or listen to the podcast, please ask them to subscribe to ours as well. The more subscriptions we have, it helps us in so many ways. And thank you to all the people that have continued to support us and subscribe to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think,
all right, well, let's sign out. We'll have an interesting week. We'll be able to recap the Oscars, and we'll be seeing who's dancing and who's not dancing next week.
Yes, indeed. This is an wide open year tournament-wise, too. We can talk about that next week.
No question.
I have no clue.
No question.